there's this precipice or this moment where you got to make a decision. And I call it Wimp Junction, where you can choose to do or you can choose to don't. And what you choose at that moment propels you. So I'm guessing at this moment, you're millions in the holes. You failed on your software sales business, and now you're sitting there with your beautiful wife, Vanessa. And what decision do you make?
It's in that time, where she's like, "Look, let's just kind of step away. Let's go to a family reunion I'm having at Bear Lake, right?" And so I'm like, "Okay, that sounds great." So, we're going up there, and the whole drive, it's about a 2-hour drive to get to northern Utah at the time, and she's telling me, "Well, there's this person, then you're gonna meet my cousin, this person, and then you're gonna meet this person," and she's kind of just briefing me, and I'm half listening and half worried about everything that I'm worried about, because that's just where you are at the bottom of a cycle, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, "And then there's this cousin I have. His name's Russell, and he's entrepreneurial, kind of like you. And I don't know, maybe you guys will get along." And right, so I end up at Bear Lake, and I'm meeting everybody, and then I end up on a boat with this Russell fellow, and he he quickly realizes I'm at the bottom of a cycle, but he realizes I'm entrepreneurial and scrappy, and he's like, "Come work for me." And sometimes you have to do that, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
when you're an entrepreneur, you have to find the person who can help you out of the bottom of the cycle.
Yeah.
You kind of need, that mother hen who's like, "Okay, I'll get you out. We'll get you back on your feet, and then we'll do something awesome because I know you're the right person, right?" And so he took me under his wing basically at that point, and started helping me get the wins, and that was everything to me, because then I could take those wins and literally pay off my debt in the
Yeah.
bottom of the cycle. And and I was scrappy enough that I would negotiate, I would figure it out, I would earn this much, and I'd be like, "Hey, you guys know I'm completely bankrupt. Will you take a quarter of the money and call this good?" And things like that. And
Yeah.
so I did what I could do, and you get out.
Yeah. I love that you own that story. One thing, John, as I was stalking you on Facebook or Instagram or something, I saw something. It's flashing in my head right now, and it says faith, family, entrepreneurship. How has that defined you? How has that helped you? What's that even mean to you?
Yeah. I love to put God first, right? And I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. Member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that has always been my pillar of strength. The thing that I can rely on, I can lean on. There's nothing bigger. There's nothing more stable than God in your life, right? And having that stability lets you take the risks that you need to take in being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur. That it's radically what is uncertain, and having the certainty of God and your faith
Mm.
allows you to reach out like that. So, and there's other things I do in my life to make sure that my base is is certain. Have you heard of the concept of certainty versus uncertainty? Tony Robbins goes into it quite a bit, right? The human needs. Um, and so I really make an effort to make sure that everything that's outside of my entrepreneurialness is as certain as possible, because that is radically uncertain,
Yeah.
which gives me the balance I need to
Yeah.
not go crazy, right?
Yep.
And so things like, I keep my faith as well oiled and as solid as I possibly can, praying, reading scriptures, attending my church meetings, those kind of things. I keep my relationship as as conflict free, as loving, as time invested as I possibly can, so that's as stable as possible. I can't have instability there, right? I keep my finances as stable as possible, because I know that. So an example, here's an interesting example on this, and I know I'm kind of on a tangent here, but um there came a point where I had the cash to pay off my house, or if you have that much cash, you could do something else with it, right? And so I'm talking to some financial planners, and they're like, "Well, yeah, look at the spreadsheet. Like, your mortgage is so low. Like, it would be a bad idea on a spreadsheet to pay off your house." And it would. What do you save? 4%? Well, I know somewhere where you can make a lot more than 4% on that money. But that's not what it was about. It was about the certainty that I could get by paying off that house, and knowing that my family's stable. If I was a horrible crash and burn entrepreneur, whatever, I still have the house. I still
Yeah.
have the family, right? and creating that foundation, that stability, um that no zero point, was everything for my. I remember doing that. We even celebrated. It's July 20th, and we celebrated as Debt Free Day in our family,
I
right?
love it.
The point where we paid everything off, and that night when you go to bed on Debt Free Day plus one, it's crazy. Like you're just like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing because now it's so stable that you can be crazy risky on the other side.
Yeah.
I just taking a quick detour to going to into our industry, in the financial service industry. I love that you said that. And if our advisors and agents are listening, it's important to maximize people's retirement and do the things that you're supposed to do for them. But I think that we highly undervalue the emotional need
Yeah.
that our clients have to have that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that we, as overall planners, overall advisors, I mean, that was a great one. Hopefully everyone that's listening hear it. We got to do that. We got to give that feeling to people.
Right. And
I
on that
love
same vein, my brother, he's in this industry, and he sells stuff, and he really convinced me that I should, get certain life insurance policies put in place and stuff like that. And at first, it's funny because at first nobody wants to do it because the expense is high, right? And the
Yeah,
return
yeah.
is low. But it's the thing that matures, over a few years. And that's another point of stability that I have that
Mhm.
allows me to be extremely risky. Like
Yeah.
we're talking like an insane amount of money in like the wildest, most volatile cryptocurrency startups you can imagine. And this and that, like things that are like 95% likely to lose your money, but if it works, you're gonna 1,000x, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy stuff like that. Well, you can't do that if you don't have
Your
the
base.
financial stability, if you don't have that life insurance, if you don't have that house paid off, if you don't have those things that really make you anchored,
Yep.
that lets it's this weird juxtaposition between like, well, I could earn 8% of my money if I put it in an index fund versus only saving 4% if I pay off my mortgage or whatever. But that 4% difference doesn't equal the multiples I could get by being crazy risky over here
Yeah.
because I've got the base.
Yeah.
Well, and what I ultimately hear is it's boiled down to what you need
Right.
and understanding your needs. And in our industry, that's important. And maybe sometimes that's overlooked.
Yeah.
When we talk about certainty, I have one question that there is a right and a wrong answer. And I want to kind of shift the podcast
Yeah.
into the direction of industry specific, and let's talk
Awesome.
about marketing, lead generating, all that good stuff. But before we do that, I think that the world wants to know what a successful entrepreneur's favorite cereal is, and I'm certain that there is a right and wrong answer here.
There's a right
So,
wrong answer.
I know there's a right and a wrong answer here, and I'm just gonna be honest about it. Okay, it is peanut butter Captain Crunch. So I don't know if that's right.
I could not have paid you enough money to say that. John Parks, that was the only certain answer that you could
It's
say.
the only one. I got it.
Look, here's my theory on cereal. There's
Yeah.
a lot of right answers.
Right.
And there's a lot of good cereal out there. But Captain Crunch, it hurts the top of your mouth.
Oh, it totally
tears
does.
it all up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fine.
No,
fine.
it's
why-
injury in a box. I
It
100%
is injury
agree
in a
with
box.
that. But it's
still
kind of like the
people
same
love it.
injury of when you're like, like you're mountain biking up a huge hill and then you're like screaming down the other side. You're certain to crash and like break something, but it's kind of worth the ride.
All right. That's good.
And
Legitimate.
there's no cereal that's soft and supple that you can eat that's grown tough, thick, cycled entrepreneurs like peanut butter
Right.
Captain Crunch.
There's like peanut butter crunch. That makes a lot of sense here.
Okay, so John, let's dive into the financial services,
Right.
right? Financial professionals, advisors, and agents, and let's just talk about individuals that are starting out, lead generation, segmentation, marketing, generating leads. Like, where do I even start? Like, talk to
Yeah.
the community
Yeah.
and
It's a great question. There's a variety of ways you can generate leads. You can spend money in advertising to get leads. You can so there's kind of like two ways to do it, right? And we break this down multiple times when we teach this. You can either work your way in or buy your way in, and that's kind of what you get, right? You can either work your way for those leads or buy your way for those leads, and so if you've got the cash and you've got the chops for it, you can advertise, and we can talk about the audiences and stuff like that and how to do that here in a sec. But to finish that concept, or maybe you don't have the cash or you don't want to put it out. Well, then you work for it. And what does work for it look like? You show up on someone else's podcast. You collaborate with them on a YouTube channel. You start your own YouTube channel. You start your own social media profiles, and you work for it, right? So you're either putting in the dollar equity or the sweat equity, but that's how you build it.